But now we're going to take an inside look at the truth about what the relationship really looked like, how toxic the relationship is. And we have enough evidence, we have enough to tell us what the relationship really looked like. And if you see up here in the corner, I'm going to be repeating the body cam footage that we saw of Gabby Petito and also of Brian, because it's in this footage that we are going to see the truth about what the relationship really looked like, just how toxic Gabby Petito and Brian's relationship actually was. We really don't need Gabby Petito's family to tell us how toxic their relationship was. We really don't need Brian Laundrie's family to tell us about how toxic their relationship was. We don't need any of that stuff. All the evidence we need is really right here. If we listen to what Gabby's saying to the police officer, even though she's frantic, even though she's having a trauma response, even though she's in fight or flight, if we listen to what she's saying, she's telling us exactly what the relationship looked like on a daily basis. This is going to sound familiar to a lot of you who've come out of toxic relationships. So to begin with, we see that Gabby is crying hysterically. She's having a hard time formulating her words and pulling herself together. Now, as we have mentioned in previous videos, this is a trauma response. The Gabby that we're looking at here is, in fact, in fight or flight. Now, pay attention to one of the first things that she says. She says, "I'm sorry." Gabby says, "I'm sorry," over and over and over again. Now, what we can take this as, and a lot of people will point and say, see, she's wrong. She's the one that's in the wrong. In toxic relationships, and this is what the relationship really looked like, you get used to having to say, "I'm sorry," because in a toxic relationship, a narcissistically abusive person, a hostile, violent person, will oftentimes erupt for no reason. It could simply be you're not paying enough attention to them, or you're not listening to them, which they take as disrespect. You're not giving your focus on them. And we know, because of what Gabby was trying to do with her life, we know that her focus was split. She was focused on what? Making videos, making a website. Okay, we're going to talk more about this in just a minute. This plays a huge role in it. Nonetheless, anything can set off a narcissistic person, a hostile, aggressive person. They go into narcissistic rage. As a matter of fact, not long ago, I posted a video with an interview with a psychopath. And in that interview, there's two things that she said could set them off. One is a false sense of authority. So narcissistic people blow up around any presence of authority. Mind you, authority could be somebody who has authority over their own life. So you being confident, Gabby being confident, can come across as authority. That can set a narcissistic person off. People who are narcissistic have to have control in every situation. Okay? We're going to talk more about this in a minute too. So Gabby probably presented a threat because Brian couldn't control her. Gabby was a free-spirited person making videos, so he would erupt. All right? Gabby learned to just say, "I'm sorry." This is why she's apologizing over and over and over again in the body cam footage. She learned that by apologizing, by saying, "I'm sorry," she probably learned that it diffuses the hostility. It diffuses an overwhelming situation. And so we can see Gabby saying, I'm sorry," as though it's second nature. This is typical in toxic relationships. Many of you have been there. You've learned that if you just say, I'm sorry," you hope that things go away. You hope that the narcissistic rage and the monster goes away, right? So we can see in their relationship that Gabby had gotten used to saying, "I'm sorry," time and time again. This is one aspect of what the toxic relationship really looked like day in and day out. The next thing that we see is that Gabby tells the police officer that, "I have OCD, I'm obsessive, and I can be mean when I'm stressful, and I'm not trying to be mean." And okay. And again, a lot of people will look at that and say, look, she's telling everybody she's the mean one. All right. How many of you are aware in toxic relationships, what narcissistic abusive people are really good at is accusing you. They can accuse you for standing up for yourself and setting boundaries. If you tell somebody who's a narcissist, "Listen, I don't like your name calling, it hurts me," they tell you that you're selfish. They tell you that you're mean. They tell you that you're ignorant. So when we listen to Gabby say, "I'm mean, I'm not trying to be mean," what this really translates into is that she's in a relationship with somebody who every time he wants something and she says, I'm busy, I'm trying to work on my website, he tells her, you're mean, you're selfish, how dare you deny me, how dare you? And so she got used to just saying, I'm not trying to be mean. And she would probably, out of self-defense, no doubt, she would probably lash back like many of us do. We snap back. I'm not the mean one. I'm just doing this. Why? You know what I mean? It's just a natural defense mechanism. What narcissistic people typically do with that is they throw that back at you. See, you are mean. Look at you. Look how you're reacting to me. Narcissistic people are known for provoking, pushing buttons, starting fights, and then when you react, they use that to throw it back at you and make you feel bad. Look at yourself. Look at how mean you are. Look at how cruel you are. And for somebody like Gabby, who has tried to be in health food and industry, which she said she was in health food. She's trying to be a content creator. She's a social butterfly. She looks to me like a free-spirited, she comes across as a free-spirited social butterfly, not out to hurt anybody. She's not out to be mean or cruel. And so when you're that type of a personality and you have somebody telling you, look at you, how mean you are. You're snapping back at me. How dare you? Look how mean you are. So this is what it causes. It causes you to be in this defensive mode. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean. Again, this phrase translates into Gabby was in a situation where she was constantly being told how mean she is in a relationship. That's another indication of just how toxic this relationship is. We have to be careful in toxic relationships that we're not allowing a toxic narcissistic person to make us feel like we are mean, because it keeps us trapped in this place of we're trying to get out of it. Gabby most likely was trying to go back to Brian saying, I'm not mean. I care for you. I love you. And this is what narcissistic people love. This is where they like to get you, in this place where you are telling them you love them and you're not mean and you're in defense. If a narcissistic person gets you in a defensive place, they keep you stuck there as long as they can, because narcissistic people don't rely on love. They don't believe in love. They believe in prisoners. One of the aspects of keeping a prisoner is to make them feel defensive. That locks the relationship in place while you are defending yourself against them. See, to a narcissist, it doesn't matter if you are having sex with them or you're fighting with them. As long as you're doing something with them, you're keeping that relationship locked. And this is where we see Gabby. She was in a defense mode, but she's locked into the relationship, trying to save her name. If only she would have realized that she could just run from the relationship and there's a great big world who will accept her, right? There's people out there who will care for her and she can get out of being the prisoner. So that's the second aspect of this toxic relationship, is that she was meant to feel like she was the one with the problems, with the OCD, with the one who was mean. How many of you now know that because Gabby's dead and Brian's hiding, how many of you know that Gabby was not the one that was mean, right? Anybody out there, anybody making comments who would suggest that Gabby was the mean one? Really? Really? How many screws do you have loose? Gabby's dead. Brian's hiding. Come on. What else do we need to know, right? Third aspect. This is an important one. What the relationship really looked like. Gabby said to the police officer in the video, Gabby said, I'm trying to do vlogging and blogging and building a website, and it's stressful, and he doesn't believe I can do it. So this is another aspect, an important aspect for us to understand. She had zero support with her goals, her ambitions, and what she really wanted to do. Now, I know we can go to Gabby's YouTube channel, Nomadic Static, and see this beautiful piece of work where it looks like they're laughing and having a good time and eating, and they look like a normal couple. But as a content creator, I can tell you this. She spent a lot of time on that, carefully picking out just the frames of video where they were having a good moment, eating food. That in no way depicts what the relationship really looked like. That, if anything, says a lot about Gabby, her heart, and what she wanted to see. She meticulously crafted her work and those video pieces to just carve out the good moments. That's what she wanted to see, right? Bless her heart. The truth is he was not supportive. This gets into a little bit more of a dangerous toxicity within the relationship. Because as a content creator myself, I know that these things take time. Making that video that Gabby made and posted on her channel took a lot of time. Doing her TikTok videos took a lot of time. Building a website takes a lot of time. It takes hours. Narcissistically abusive people demand what? Time. Narcissistically abusive people demand attention. So in this toxic relationship, Brian, being a narcissistic person, was putting down Gabby's effort because it was taking time away from him. As a result, it came across to Gabby as him being unsupportive. Most likely, what he was saying is, you're wasting your time. You're not going to make it. You can't do it. This is what Gabby said to the police officer. He doesn't believe I can do this. That's because Brian was angrily and aggressively saying, you're wasting your time. Stop doing that. You're stupid. It's dumb. Why are you making videos? The reason is because Brian, as narcissistic people, they get agitated and irritated when they see somebody with them so in love, so in passion, and drenched in passion with what they really like in life, which isn't the narcissist, it's something else. They become enraged. How dare you focus? You're taking focus away from me. This is what would be going on in the narcissistic mind. You're taking focus from me. You're putting it on that. And they would go into rages. And that in turn would stress Gabby out. Here's Gabby trying to create a future, trying to create a life, but she's also enduring now the rage of a narcissistic person who's saying, you are wasting time doing that instead of being with me. We also know this because Brian also told the police officer in body cam footage, he said, I know Gabby's trying to work on this website. She's stressed out. I'm just trying to keep us moving. I'm trying to get us to the next hike. What this translates into, what you're not seeing with the monster that is within Brian, is what he's really saying is, I was demanding that she stop doing her dumb website, stop doing the movies, and I'm trying to get us to go hiking. I'm trying to get her to be with me. I'm trying to get her to pay attention to me. I'm sick of competing with her and her stupid videos and her stupid websites. That's really what's inside of narcissistic people. Narcissistic people expect that if you are with them, then you are going to give them the attention. You're going to serve them. So this is the third aspect of their toxic relationship. Gabby was being closed in as far as her passions and her dreams about being a YouTuber, a vlogger, a website builder. She was being closed in and stressed out because she wasn't allowed to. A lot of people aren't going to recognize this, but Brian became insanely jealous of the fact that she had a passion in life, and this jealousy caused him to rage uncontrollably, lock her out of the car, chase her, slap her. Again, how dare you be passionate about anything other than me? This is what these toxic relationships look like. The last thing, those are three things so far, okay? So Gabby was apologetic. She's learned to just say, I'm sorry, because in toxic relationships, they explode for no reason. The second thing that we talked about was that she admitted that she was the one causing the problems. This is the result of being told you are the problem starter. Narcissistic people do that, okay? They remain angry. Narcissistic people are angry, and it's never the target's fault, by the way. They're just angry people. But what they do to justify the fact that they're angry, they have murder in their hearts. To justify it, they need someone to blame. Gabby became that person, and everything about Gabby became wrong, including her desire to be a YouTuber, a vlogger, and a traveling person. That became wrong as well. The final thing was isolation. Isolation is what the relationship was about. Yes, they were out traveling, and a lot of people might suspect that, well, this was Gabby. It could have been Gabby. Gabby had a part in this. She wanted to be a traveling vlogger and blogger. Unfortunately, she is with a narcissistic person. Typically in toxic relationships, they thrive on isolation. The further Gabby was away from any support system, she being on the road, her parents weren't there, her dad wasn't there, her friends weren't there. She was stuck with this narcissistic person, which meant that Brian could do exactly what she said happened in that body cam footage. Lock me outside of the van. She said this to the police officer. He locked me out. Now, of course, Brian and the police footage acted like, oh, I like to make sure we have distance when we're arguing. And, I just wanted her to calm down. She needs to calm down, right? Again, gaslighting, making it seem like she's the problem. So I locked her out of the van. On the surface, when Brian's telling the police this, it can look like just a little thing. I'm just keeping her out of the van. The truth is, in toxic relationships, Gabby had most likely become used to being locked out of the van as a form of punishment. Narcissistic people believe they have the right to punish others, even if it means locking them outside of the van, out in the scorching heat, or at midnight, in a remote area, off the side of the road somewhere, lizards and animals and monkeys and whatever else all over the place, and Gabby had nowhere to go. Gabby had nothing but having to submit. So what you're looking at in the police cam video that we're seeing up here is a Gabby who had grown into this place of having to submit, not even able to formulate her words, not able to stand up for herself. Why? Because in the toxic relationship that she's been in, if she stood up for herself, she was locked outside of the van. She was locked out. If she said anything against Brian, she was raged at. If she tried to focus on her work, on her vlog, on her website, she was raged at. How dare somebody take time away from the narcissist? So this is what I wanted to share with you. This is what it really looks like in a toxic relationship. We get all of this information, again, from just the body cam footage of the police officer. This is all we need. This is what will tell you exactly what the relationship looked like and just how toxic it was. And that's what I wanted to share with you right now. All right, we'll be back with more videos on the Royal We. If you need one-on-one support, down in the description box, you should find access to my calendar where you can schedule some one-on-one time with me. We will keep this conversation going about Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. It's an important topic. It currently is the face of what narcissistic abuse looks like and what the ultimate tragic outcome of these relationships can be if you do not get out. All right, I'll be back with more videos on the Royal We.